Hello, people of the internet. This is Ian Altazar, the Freedom Astrologer here, coming to you with another astrological report on the 28th of April 2020. Now, this is the last report, let's say, in this kind of a series, but it doesn't mean that I won't be doing any more of these reports. It actually just means that I've covered the entire lunar month, starting last time when the moon was in Leo, and now just before the moon is about to move to Leo, we're actually in Cancer, or the moon is in Cancer. So you've been with me in this cycle for about approximately 28 days. And that's 28.5 days is approximately the moon cycle as it moves through the signs. Now, let's go into the actual configurations, and first let's focus on the element or the general energetic balance, as I like to sometimes call it. So the water element has been, kind of lonely there, but for a few days when the moon is in Cancer, we're getting quite a boost there, so more water energy. I think we can use it because there's been such a focus on more practical, more material, kind of grinding, and like the earth and fixed energy is it's a slow moving energy. So things move slowly, you're kind of like, oh, can we get going faster? And it's like, no. And it's also kind of practical, more material. So it's very hard to connect with your emotions and feelings and know what you're feeling inside deep down. And now when the moon is in Cancer, it's a very emotional place, and it's in its home sign. So our emotional life gets a boost. It's easier to connect with our emotions, feelings, understand what we're feeling. Yes, there can be maybe an overflowing of emotions, but generally it's still a very good emotional time. But most of the energy is still concentrated on earth and air, and like fixed air and earth. There's some cardinality going, some mutability going on, but there's a lot of focus on the fixed air and earth right now. So this means, yes, still a good time to continue working on projects, maybe fiddling with those projects here and there, maybe changing them a little, making them a little better, but most of the focus is still on kind of this grinding work, continuous work, putting the effort in, yes, taking action, but also it's like keeping things working rather than doing anything like super exciting new beginning. It's a bit of a continuation of the same, and solidifying it. So moon in Cancer, domicile or home position for the moon. So the moon feels good here. It's a natural position. We're more connected to our emotions. The Cancer is our emotional life. So is the moon. They go well together. So it's a good time, to spend time with family, spend time at home, connect with family members, connect with home, do some activities around the house. Maybe not so, like, you can do probably some gardening and stuff like that, but it's still an emotional sign, so usually better to kind of feel emotions and write poetry, and maybe some artistic expressions are a little bit better. Although I've found that doing some easier stuff around the house is still still a pretty good time to do that. But generally speaking, it's the moon is our emotional need, so there's an emotional need to connect with the home. There's an emotional need to connect with family members, to spend time with family members, and emotionally be nurtured and give nurturing as well. So these two both are important. There is a bit of a increase in intuition. There's a increase in sensitivity as well. And also, there can be some ups and downs as well, like more emotional fluctuations, like crying one moment, then being really happy and nurturing and loving the other moment. These things can happen a lot during this time. And what else? Let's mention the downside as well, to be really clear with Cancer, because Cancer is a bit of they feel everything very clearly. They have this strong intuition, nurturing sense. If you have strong Cancer anywhere in your chart, this applies to you personally, but especially when the moon is there. So we all generally feel like this. And the downside is to you intuitively think, because of your intuition being so heightened and strong, that everybody can feel everything about your needs and desires and wants. So instead of opening your mouth and saying, hey, would you mind doing this, or I would love to do this, or could you do this, there's kind of a quiet demanding or quiet hinting of these things to your partners, to your friends, to your family. So it can, lead to some annoyances, reactions from people, because they think you should know what they need, but actually you don't, because you have other stuff to do. It is a positive thing with Cancer moon that you can actually feel what the other one is needing or wanting emotionally, and what kind of nurturing they're expecting. But it's not always the case, so that's where the trouble can happen. So open your mouth, speak your needs, tell them what you want. It's a good way of doing it. What else? Yeah, of course, just do all the feeling and emotional, intuitive things, but still open your mouth. It's much better. Artistic expression is good, like painting and poetry, letting those emotions kind of flow and put them outside is good. Now the moon is quite well supported, especially in this moment, approximately, of me, recording and posting the video. It's receiving sextile from the Sun, Uranus, wider sextile from Mercury. What's the degree here for? So 7 degrees. That's okay. 7 degree apart. That's okay. We can take it. We can take the momentary emotional boost that the moon can receive here. Also a wide trine from the Neptune. That's 12 degrees. So that doesn't affect us so strongly, but like later today it will be more felt. So Neptune trine moon is always like a very, very intuitive, emotional time. I mean, intuitive connection to other realms of existence, even like picking up signals from other dimensions and other realms of existence. And it's also healing. Neptune can heal your emotions when it's in a trine, so it can bring some momentary healing. Maybe you understand and forgive someone. And I think it's a good time to do that, actually, for a short period of time. What else? Yeah, emotional life emotional life is luckily quite supported during these few days. Emotional communication, because Mercury, this type of communication that can, bring some important information that can actually uplift your emotions. Also, you can write and speak quite emotionally. Maybe again the poetry thing comes in, or poetry, or some kind of creative, artistic writing, communication, expression. I mean, even like I can see, writing some song lyrics, quite possibly. Probably a good time to do that. I wrote one interesting sentence here. I think this is a good like summary of what this energy, short-term energy, can bring us. Is emotional life is supported, exciting new emotions, feelings are more uplifted, a lot of emotional communication. Now, intuitive downloads, Uranus, and creative information. Creativity is the sun, sextile from the sun, and information is Mercury. So intuitive downloads of creative information. So again, I've mentioned this many times, but write those things down. This can happen, especially if you're more like open to those other realms. Maybe your creativity is flowing, and it doesn't have to mean you're super spiritual and always meditating. It doesn't have to be like that. It's kind of, it can, with Uranus it can happen like suddenly. You just kind of have to be open to it. Maybe nourish your creativity somehow, like do creative stuff yourself. I think this is a good way of doing it. What else? Okay, so approximately tomorrow there's an opposition with Moon, Jupiter, and Pluto. I mean, these are strong influences, so for a moment the difficult influence will be felt by you, for us, by everybody. So Pluto is kind of like this subconscious. Not kinda, but this, the subconscious. There can be some difficult subconscious emotions rising, and Jupiter can actually expand that, so it can bring more of those. So you have to deal with those. It will be harder. It will be kind of harder to understand those emotions and feelings because it's an opposition. So it kind of feels something, but you kind of don't know why you're even agitated. It can bring, luckily again, it's a shorter influence. Now with Cancer Moon and Jupiter opposition, it's always like a danger of overflowing, completely overflowing, too optimistic emotion, being overly generous with everybody and everything. So just luckily, again, it is a shorter influence, but you have to, even those things you need to kind of be aware of. Then I'm like, okay, maybe I won't be so overflowingly generous, and can use my resources in a different way. Yeah, people, like generally again, during Moon in Cancer, people are more caring, they're more nurturing, they can offer you, support, guidance. They're kind of more family oriented. Everything can seem like a family. The emotions are kind of softer as well. Like when, let's say for example, when the Moon is in Capricorn, everybody's very serious. But when the Moon is in Cancer, everybody's kind of, it's like it's more of a kind of gentle place to have your emotions. Okay, yeah, the last two things, Mercury and Saturn, are in a square. We haven't really talked a lot about Mercury aspect, so I think it's a very exact square, so both are on 1 degree. This is where I wrote down blockages of information. And now, generally speaking, this is obviously more of a general horoscope or a general interpretation of what like worldly events and bigger events can be. And especially with Mercury and Saturn, there can be a lot of blockages and restrictions or some kind of trouble with first of all technological devices, media themes, internet, social media, all kinds of communication, writing, speaking. There can be even new, like stricter laws. Maybe during this crisis, there can be some, government can restrict the media somehow, or not give them information or the right information. Or like business activities, somewhat, some blockages there, some restrictions there, some frustration there. So take this is not a very long influence, but still for a couple of days, this is still kind of a bigger influence. So if things aren't working as smoothly as normally, or as sometimes they do, this is largely because of this. Personal level can be like mind can be slower communicating, or thinking thoughts and ideas can be like a little, not foggy, but it's kind of slower, and maybe you kind of have an idea, but it kind of stops somewhere. You kind of or like it stops before you can think it through, or you can't think it through actually, because there's a blockage, like a mental block there. So that's also a possibility. Just take it, with Saturn, it's always a little bit of a slow moving, so it can move slowly, and you kind of have to move slowly. Like travel bans, or like maybe restrictor rules on traveling can happen. And again, we're in this crisis, so this seems likely that it will be happening, unfortunately, for a moment in time. Information exchange somewhere blocked or restricted. Problem with electronic devices, I mentioned that. Tightening of the travel ban, tightening of regulations on the media, usually by the governments here. So I think that's it for Mercury and Saturn. And now the last one, it's Venus. So it is here that I can mention that I will be recording a longer video about Venus retrograde today, and we'll publishing it this week, approximately on Friday. I will do like a general overview of what Venus retrograde is, what it means, what areas are affected, and then in the end of that, or at the end of that video, I will do personal predictions for each star sign, and where you are going to be personally more affected, or which areas in your life are going to be more affected. But again, for a few days, Venus is in an interesting position, about to go retrograde, already intensity brewing there, more, it will be more in our faces, all those Venus topics, and a square from Neptune, and at the same time a trine from Mars. So it's kind of a so-and-so, like the trine from Mars is probably still, I've talked about the trine many times now, it's still a positive, bring, quick ways of making money, quick ways of actually doing it, and making money quickly, taking action to make money, working on fitness to make yourself more beautiful, more active, more ambitious in your relationships, business partnerships, activation there. But Neptune there can, like, in a square and difficult aspect, can even bring some like momentary monetary losses. Maybe, in your relationships and partnership, not quite seeing things eye to eye, and maybe like even twisting the truth, giving something or over promising something in your business partnerships, or in your personal relationships. So hopefully you will experience the Mars more intensively, but be aware of the other side of this as well. So that's it. Another first month of these done. So I'm quite possibly thinking about doing these every week, not every 2 or 3 days. It's a bit intense, and there's not so many movements all the time. So I think a weekly is a bit of a better timeline to do this. And I will also do a couple of longer videos now about Venus retrograde, about Mars retrograde, and I will do north and south node switching signs as well. These are big events this year, and I will cover these and stay. If you want to know, when they're going to be published, subscribe to my channel, like and subscribe, whatever these good things that are useful to me. But yeah, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon.